Ready? Okay, guys. Number 6 of the day is Quercus garryana, Fagaceae, which is known as garry oak or the Oregon white oak. And it is another tree. It's a tree oak, and it's deciduous. It's in the white oak group, so it's our 4th white oak. And so just like all the other white oaks, it has matte finish underside of the leaves that are kind of pale bluish green. And garry oak is kind of like the characteristics that you see on garry oak are kind of intermediate between. It has some things that are similar to blue oak and some things that are similar to valley oak, those 2 tree oaks that we learned last week. So like Quercus lobata, it has lobed leaves, very lobed leaves. Probably the sinuses are not quite as deep as the ones on Quercus lobata, at least certainly not on this individual. But certainly much more than your typical blue oak. But the bark is not like Quercus lobata at all. It's much more like blue oak. It's got lightish bark, thin, so it would not be good for Godzilla to sharpen his claws on this bark. And often kind of has either white, flaky bark or some vertical striping, some kind of furrows. So check that out. Check out the bark, check out the leaves. Right here in Marin County is pretty much the southern extent of the range of this species. And I would, there was a PhD student who was a GSI for this class a few years ago named Prahlad Papper, a student of David Ackerley's, who did his work on garry oak and blue oak. He did a lot of population level sampling. I think he may have even sampled these particular oaks. And this is, I think he reported this, mostly garry oak. But there's definitely gene flow between the blue oaks and the garry oaks. They're very close relatives, so I would not be surprised at all if there's some blue oak in this garry oak. As you go north, you get more and more, garry oaks become more and more common. In fact, they pretty much the only tree white oak as you get into Northern California, and then they live all the way up into Oregon, and maybe even into Washington, I think, as well. So they kind of peter out there. Oaks don't do really well when it gets really cold. That's pretty much all I have to say about garry oak. It is a tree oak. It has deciduous leaves. It has lobed leaves with a matte finish on underside. And the bark is light colored and flaky thin, not at all like Quercus lobata.